Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. Alright, on day 2 of the Showcase to Independence, we're showcasing independent wrestling the entire month of January. Every day, different company. On the first, it was Game Changer Wrestling, GCW, the best of 2023. Today, I'm going to do the World Series of Wrestling, WSW, out of Adelaide, South Australia. They did 2 big shows, multiple days in 2023. They did the WSW Unleashed tour, March 10th through the 13th, 4 shows, and then they did the WSW Full Throttle, October 6th through October 13th. 6 shows there. Those are all available on Fight TV, part of Thriller TV, part of Thriller Plus. Same way with Game Changer Wrestling, all their shows are on there, including the very first one, which was the Nick Gage Invitational one 8 years ago. So definitely check that out. But for the World Series of Wrestling out of Australia, the WSW World Heavyweight Champion currently is Matt Cardona, 2-time champion. He has held the title for, pull this up here, it doesn't tell me how long he's held the title for. Hold on, let me go to the title history. Here we go. He's held the title now for 82 days. The WSW Women's Champion is Cassie Lee. She has held that title for 88 days. She won it during October. And then the WSW Australian title, it's kind of like their cruiserweight kind of cruiserweight intercontinental type title. TJP has held it for 297 days. He's actually the only one to hold it. And then the WSW Tag Team Champions are the Parala, Eli Thiessen, and Gabriel Arias. They've held it for 82 days. They won it during the October tournament as well. So we're going to do the top 23 matches for 2023. So number 23 came from the Unleashed Hell Day 3 for the WSW Australian Championship. We had a scramble match. We had champion TJP versus Joey Janela versus Bandito versus Chris Basso versus Effie versus Flip Gordon. TJP got the victory there. I give it 3.5. Number 22 comes from the same show, Unleashed Hell Day 3. We had Josh Alexander versus Blake Christian, the current GCW World Champion. Josh Williams, the longest reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion in history. Josh Williams won that in a 3.5-star match. Number 21 comes from Unleashed Hell Day 2. The WSW World Heavyweight title on the line. We had champion Johnny Down Under. Yes, that is John Morrison, Johnny whoever company he's working for, Johnny Game Changer, Johnny TV, versus Matt Cardona. This is actually where Matt Cardona beat him for the World Heavyweight title. I give that 3.5. Number 20 came from Unleashed Hell Day 2. The WSW World Tag titles on the line. We had champions the Flippin' Machines, Ryan Cage, Flip Gordon, versus the Parello, Eli Thiessen, and Gabriel Arias, and then versus Warbeard, which is Matt Basso and Eric Redbeard. And on this occasion, the Flippin' Machines retained their titles in a 3.5-star match. From Unleashed Hell Day 1, we had a triple threat match. We had TJP versus Flip Gordon versus Blake Christian. In that match, TJP got the victory as well. I give that 3.5. Number 18 on the list comes from Full Throttle Day 6. We had Mick Moretti versus Mike Bailey. Speedball Mike Bailey got the victory there, 3.5 star. From same show, Full Throttle Day 6, the WSW Australian Championship in a triple threat match. We had champion TJP versus Matt Diamond versus Flip Gordon. TJP getting the victory. I gave that 3.5 as well. Number 16 comes from Full Throttle Day 5. Flip Gordon versus Chris Bay. Flip Gordon getting the victory. I ended up giving that 3.5 as well. From the same show, number 15 on the list, Full Throttle Day 5. The WSW World Tag Team Championships. In a triple threat match, we had champion Tapera, Eli Thiessen, Gabriel Harris versus Top Tier, which is Mitch Ryder and Tim Tayden versus Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian. And Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian won the tag titles there in a 3.5-star match. Next up, from day 4 of that Full Throttle tour, we had the WSW Australian Championship on the line. Champion TJP versus Mickey Broderick. And TJP getting the victory there. I gave that one 3.5 as well. Number 13 on the list, coming from Full Throttle Day 3, we had the WSW World Heavyweight title on the line. In a fatal 4-way, we had champion at the time Shawn Spears versus Frankie Kazarian versus Eric Young versus always ready Matt Cardona. Shawn Spears retained the title. I give that 3.5. From Full Throttle Day 3 as well, the WSW World Tag titles on the line. Champions the Pereira, Eli Thiessen and Gabriel Harris versus ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. And the Pereira retained the titles. I give that 3.5. Number 11 on the list comes from Full Throttle Day 2. We had the Velocities, Jude London and Paris Del Silva versus ABC, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. Ace Austin and Chris Bay got the victory. I gave that 3.5 as well. Number 10 on the list comes from Full Throttle Day 1. This was for the WSW World Heavyweight Championship. It was champion Matt Cardona facing Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears winning the championship there. 3.5 star. Now, it was announced today that World Series of Wrestling will have their next tour. June 28th, I believe, is when it starts. So I'm kind of excited for that. It should be on Fight TV as well. So definitely, if you want to check out these shows, go to Thriller TV by Fight. And if you have the Thriller Plus, which is where you pay so much per year to get all the streaming, it is definitely well worth it. GCW, World Series of Wrestling, Warrior Wrestling, Black Label Pro, Santino Brothers, just to name a few. So definitely look into that if those are companies that you'd be interested in following. Number 9 on the list comes from Full Throttle Day 1. We had Speedball Mike Bailey versus Adam Brooks. Adam Brooks is actually a hella talented wrestler. He's done some stuff in the UK, and that's where I kind of know him from. But him going against Speedball Mike Bailey here, just very, very two talented wrestlers in the ring. I give it 3 3/4. Next up, from Unleashed Hell Day 4 for the WSW Australian Championship, TJP versus Australian's own Robbie Eagles. Robbie Eagles wrestles a lot in New Japan Strong. On this case, TJP got the victory there. I give it 3 3/4. Next up, we had from Unleashed Hell Day 1, WSW World Heavyweight title on the line. Champion Johnny Down Under versus Bandito. Bandito's been out with injury. He's actually one of my favorite luchadors. Watching him progress over the last 3 or 4 years to a Ring of Honor champion and other places he's wrestled, it's been just amazing how good he is. He's kind of I would put him as the modern day kind of Rey Mysterio type. But definitely he's somebody that once he's healthy, he can build a company around him. I'm hoping he comes back with AEW when he's healthy and actually gets a title run or something, because he's definitely worth it. He's one of the young guns in Lucha Libre wrestling. Johnny Down Under here beat him. I give it 3 3/4. Number 6 on the list comes from Unleashed Hell Day 1. We had Brian Cage versus Josh Alexander. I talk a lot about styles make fights, with the power and the agility of Brian Cage versus the striking of Josh Alexander. Technical wrestler Josh Alexander, but Brian Cage with his strength was able to overpower Josh Alexander here and get the victory, 3 3/4. Next up, a match that I did not think would be as good as it was. This is from Full Throttle Day 6. It was Eric Redbeard versus Jack J. Bonza. Wow, what a hoss fight that this was, and damn good. Eric Redbeard did win. I give it 3 3/4. Next up, we had from Full Throttle Day 2, WSW Australian Championship in a triple threat match. Champion TJP versus Brian Cage versus Speedball Mike Bailey. 3 completely different styles. You got the high-flying style of TJP, the power and agility of Brian Cage, and then the striking of Speedball Mike Bailey. but TJP was able to retain his title once again in a 4-star match. Next up, number 3 on the list comes from Unleashed Hell Day 2, TJP versus Josh Alexander. One of the top 4 matches of the show, obviously number 3, but it was one of 4 4-star matches with Josh Alexander getting the victory. Number 2 on the list, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of kind of like 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. I bet I could rewatch it and probably reorder them, but they were all just super good. These are super talented wrestlers here. So number 2 on the list is Bandito versus Blake Christian. Bandito getting the victory. 2 of my favorite wrestlers right now going. 4-star match there with Bandito winning. And then number 1 came from Full Throttle, Day 5, WSW Australian Championship. Speedball Mike Bailey taking on champion TJP, who went undefeated on his title defenses. I ended up giving it 4. So yeah, you got TJP in 3 of the top 4 matches. You've got Brian Cage in them. You got Speedball Mike Bailey in 2 of the top 4. You got TJP in 2 of the top 4. Josh Alexander, Bandito, and Blake Christian. There's so much talent there. It's great to know that these guys in Impact Wrestling and New Japan Wrestling, in AEW, GCW with Blake Christian, can go to Australia and wrestle. They can go to the UK and wrestle. They can go to New Japan and wrestle because of that, quote, forbidden door. That's kind of like I said in the State of Pro Wrestling show I did at the end of last year. That's what makes like the old territories kind of really unique still. We still kind of have that where these wrestlers can go from one area to another area, wrestle, put on 4-star matches, wow the crowd, but yet go somewhere else and do the same thing. So that's what makes 2024 a spectacular season, a year for professional wrestling, in my opinion. We will continue the showcase of the independents tomorrow. So each and every day this month, I will profile one independent company from 2023. Now, when I say independent company, I'm not talking about AEW, I'm not talking WWE, I'm not talking New Japan, I'm not talking TNA, I'm talking everyone else. Those are the big 4. I will do those videos separate as we go. So New Japan Pro Wrestling actually will be after Wrestle Kingdom and after New Year's Dash. I was hoping to do it before, but I'm not going to be able to. But each day will be a different independent company, so make sure you check those out. So day 1 was GCW. Now day 2 is World Series of Wrestling. As always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show, and don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day at Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leaders for show content.